Welcome back, everyone, to the official Uniburo YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mitchell, and in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how you can integrate your SimpleTix event with Salesforce. So what I have here is my birthday bash event, which is going to take place on my birthday, and we want to have all of these tickets sent to our Salesforce. So how are we going to do that? Well, we are going to use our API bridge of choice, Zapier. So I actually have my Zapier tab ready to go. And so to start, you just want to click on New Zap, and you're going to want to search for SimpleTix. So once you have your SimpleTix here, you're going to go ahead and just choose your trigger event. I like to go with the new order. So in this case, anytime a new order has been created in SimpleTix, it will trigger this API and send off into Salesforce. The next step is you're going to have to connect your SimpleTix account with Zapier. So this step might be a little bit confusing, but I'll walk you guys through it. So the first step is to click on Choose an Account. You could ignore the fact that mine is already here. You're going to want to create a new account, or connect a new account rather. And then this window is going to pop up. So you're going to need to get the API key of your SimpleTix and paste it in here. So they actually give quite a good example on how to do that. So all you need to do is just copy this URL, open a new tab, and you're going to want to paste it. And then what you need to do is just change where this says your domain with, well, your domain. And so our case, it's going to be Uniburo, and I'm going to click and go to that page. So once you're here, what you need to do is click on the copy API key. This is going to open up a little window, and your API key is going to be there. I'm not going to do that just for security reasons, but once you're done that, you can go ahead, return to that other window, and paste your API key there, and then you'll be able to select your account. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my account, and then I could click on continue. So this part, again, is a lot of fun. You just got to click on test trigger. If you do not have any triggers existing, or any tickets that you've purchased already, nothing will come up. But in my case, I've already processed a test transaction, so this is what we're going to be working with. So I'm going to go ahead and click on continue. And now our first step is complete. Now our next step is I want three things to happen once an order has been submitted into SimpleTix. I want to find or create the contact of the person who actually purchased the ticket. I then want to have the campaign created or found. So that's going to be the event itself. And then lastly, I want an opportunity to be created, and I want that opportunity to be linked to that new contact and to the new campaign. So to start, it doesn't really matter which order we start with, but I'm going to go ahead and do my contact first. So in my apps, I'm going to go ahead and search for Salesforce. There's actually two main Salesforces. There is the legacy integration, as well as just the new one, which is what I'm going to select. And then again, we need to choose our action. In our case, we want to go ahead and find a record. So once you click on that, you're going to want to go ahead and choose which Salesforce account you want to use. In my case, I've already connected mine, but if you haven't connected yours, you just simply need to click on Connect a New Account. A window will pop up, and you'll just need to choose which Salesforce environment you want to use, whether it is a production or a sandbox, most likely a production. And then if you do not see the screen, you'll probably be greeted with a login screen, in which case you'll just have to simply log in to your Salesforce account. But then once this pops up, all you need to do is just click on Allow, and this will create the connection for you. In my case, I've already done this, so for me, it's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is just select the account you want to work with. Once that's done, you can click on Continue, and now we get into the fun stuff. So to start, we're going to actually have to pick what object we want to look for. In our case, I want to look for the contact, so I'm going to go ahead and start typing contact, and I can just select it there. Now we want to choose which field we want to search by, And so in my case, I've actually created a special formula field which I called int matching. Oops. And this formula field, all it does is it pulls the last name, comma, space, and the email. So this is just a kind of my quick way of enhancing my searches just a little bit. So now, in order to create that matching search value with our data from SimpleTix, I'm going to go ahead and put the merge fields in here. So I said it's going to be last name, comma, space, email. Once that's done, we can just click away, and we could answer whether this is considered a success when nothing is found. The answer is false. If something is found, it is not a success, in which case we want to create a Salesforce record if it doesn't exist yet. So we're going to go ahead and check that little box. And now it's going to open this other little widget with all of our contact fields here. So what we're going to want to do is map all of our fields with the fields in Salesforce. So for example, the last name, if I just click into here, I could go ahead and select the last name of my test trigger, which our case would be Iger. And then I could go into the first name, I could choose Bob, and I can just continue doing this the whole way down. So I'm going to do that and I will be right back. Okay, so I just finished mapping all of my fields. So we can see I put the email and I just put the address over here, as well as the first and last name. So that's all the real information that we have from SimpleTix. Obviously, if you had some custom questions, you could go ahead and map them here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll all the way to the bottom. Depending on how many fields you have in your Salesforce, this might be longer than others. And then once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and just click on continue. So it's going to ask if we want to test this action, which is always a good thing to do. So it's going to go ahead and find, or actually make this search and see if anything is returned. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click on test and review. Okay, so the test was completed and we can see that a record was actually found in Salesforce. So that means this working just as I intended. And so next I can click on this little plus sign, which is sometimes hidden, but it is down there, and this will create us a new step in our Zap. So next I want to continue with Salesforce. So again, I can just search for Salesforce. And this will be the same process as earlier, because now what I want to do is I want to find a campaign for our event, in which case is the birthday bash. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I am going to find a record, continue. I'm going to link it with my demo org, continue. So now instead, in our search object, we actually want to search for a campaign, because we want to make sure that this event corresponds to a campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then for my search field, I'm actually going to just use the campaign name. I think that's unique enough for me. And obviously you can make this as unique or non-unique as you wish. For the search value, that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to just search for the event, and then you can see the event name is there. And once again, if I don't find any campaigns in Salesforce, I want to go ahead and create it. So I'm going to make sure that my create record is checked. Okay, so now I just need to go ahead and map some fields. So this is pretty straightforward. We don't have too much information regarding the event, or at least that we need. We just have the name. We can go ahead and give the status as in progress. We have a start date, which was somewhere here, if I could find it. Here it is, the event date. Okay, so I think that's all of the fields that we needed to map. The only thing that I have extra is that we have a record type on our campaign. We have one for event, so I'm going to go ahead and just code that for event. But that is an optional step depending on your Salesforce setup. I'm going to go ahead and click on continue. And I'm going to go and do the same thing and test. Okay, and now we can see that the record was successfully created in Salesforce. So now all we need to do is complete our last step. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one. And this step, we are going to go ahead and create an opportunity for this transaction. So now in this case, I want to do a create record. And again, same account as before. And now this time, I'm going to go ahead and choose our opportunity. Opportunity, there it is. And now all of our values are populated here, or all of our fields rather. So now I can do the same thing as I've been doing before and start mapping some of these fields. So in our case, we do have some record types. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the record type for a donation. The name, because we are using NPSP here, our name will be populated automatically. But if you want, you could go ahead and make the name something a little bit more personal if you don't have auto naming on. So we can even say Bob Iger SimpleTix order. We want to put our stage as closed one because they have purchased these tickets. So for our amount field, we actually have a few options here, and so I can just search for total really quick, and you can see all of the different options that we have. We have our unit price total, our order total. We even have like a subtotal, tax total, donation total, service fee total. A lot of these are zeros just because in my test I threw in a promo code, so that's why these things are 0. Normally it would be 60, as we can see from the total item original price. So it really depends on what you want to be tracking in your Salesforce. But for the most part, what we would like to know is how much money we got out of it in the end, in which our case would be our order total. So I'm going to go ahead and select this amount field, but for your use case, you may want to be tracking something else, so that it is up to you. Also, we have a quantity, so I'm going to go ahead and add that here. We have our total quantity. Our close date can be simply the order date. And as for our lead source, we can go and say that our lead source in our case will be actually SimpleTix. And now this is where things get a little bit tricky and a little bit fun. For our campaign, we're going to want to make sure that we select the campaign that we had either found or created in that last step. And so to do that, I'm going to just click on this drop down, and it's going to list us all of our campaigns that we have in Salesforce, which is not quite what we want. So I'm going to click on this custom, and then I can go and find the task that we found of the campaign. And in here, we see all of the fields that we have for our campaign. And the first one is the ID of our campaign. So I want that ID. Once that's done, I could keep scrolling down. I don't think I need too much else here, but there is a primary contact lookup field, which will be our contact. And again, so just like we did with the campaign, we could go ahead and click on custom, click our step that looks for contact, and I could go ahead and put that ID in there just like that. So as I'm looking down, I think there's only one more thing that I want in my Salesforce for this order, and that's going to be the URL to the order. So this is just something very easy for me to have just in case of emergency. I can go and click on that URL, and I can be brought into SimpleTix and see all of the order details from there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find that field in this sea of fields. So give me 1 sec until I find it. Of course, it was at the bottom. So over here, I'm just going to search for a URL. And we can see we have a few URLs here. We have the mobile ticket URL. We have the box office URL, and then even a download tickets URL. So I want the view order URL. So that way, when I click it, it'll open up all of my all of my order details. So also on the way, I mapped a few extra fields just to make things a little bit quicker. Now I'm going to click on continue, and again, I'm going to go ahead and test. And now we can see that a test has been successfully created in Salesforce. And so basically, we're done. So before I turn on my Zap and make it so that it is now live, I want to double check that everything that I actually created and tested worked properly. And so for that, I'm going to jump into Salesforce, which I have opened over here, and I'm going to go ahead and find that opportunity that I just created. Okay, so here I am. I found the opportunity, and we can see all of the details seem to have worked just very nicely. We can see that our name has been auto-named into the proper format. We have our primary contact of Bob Iger, our amount, our close date is good, our stage, our campaign hooked up right, and then these are the things that I kind of just did off screen, which is our method of payment as well as our payment reference. And we have this order URL, which brings us to Bob's order in SimpleTix with all of his details here. So we can even go even further and just check out, make sure that our campaign worked out nicely. Here it is. I mean, there's not much information here other than just our name and our date. And then we can even go check out Bob, making sure that everything worked just well here. And so we can see that Bob linked up to a existing Bob that we had. So we can see all of his past donations and opportunities here as well. So there you go. That's how you integrate SimpleTix with Salesforce using Zapier. Let me know if you guys have any issues trying out this integration or any problems. If you do, just leave them in the comments below. Thanks a lot, guys.